Jack is a great guy. He's written a fantastic book. Everybody's talking about it. Go get it. And he's been my friend right from the beginning of this whole beautiful event. And we're going to turn it around and make our country great again. Amen.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we are back live, Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice. Folks, let's face it, your phone, we know it's a tracking device. Government agencies, big tech, corporate data brokers, even cyber criminals, they're all fighting for a piece of your digital footprint. They don't ask, they just take it. And that is why Silent exists. Silent makes Faraday gear that blocks all wireless signals, cellular Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, RFID, and NFC. No signal means no tracking, no remote access, no breadcrumbs. This is the same tech that's trusted by special operations teams worldwide and used to block signals, avoid surveillance, and secure comms wherever the mission leads. And now it's available to you to protect your family, your freedom, and your digital footprint. Drop your phone in a silent Faraday sleeve, and it's off the grid. Completely silent, invisible to the outside world. From backpacks to sleeves to crossbodies, Silent's patented tech gives you control of your privacy. Visit slnt.com/poso this Christmas and save 15% off and get free shipping on qualifying orders. You're going to want to check that out. slnt.com/poso this Christmas. Protect your rights, secure your data, and stay one step ahead. slnt.com. Silence the chaos. So, folks, I heard a lot of people saying that, oh, President Trump's being reactionary. President Trump's being reactionary. Sorry. So we had this situation last week. And I want to go back and explain a little bit about how this all got started. So we're explaining the backdrop of it, why myself, Charlie Kirk, and so many people fought for these things. Day before Thanksgiving, last week, the White House. We had a volunteer, a young girl, 20 years old, member of the West Virginia National Guard. She volunteered to go and stand watch. She volunteered with her unit to stand watch at the White House day before Thanksgiving. Well, on Thanksgiving, her mom and dad were not sitting around the table, sharing the turkey, sharing the cranberry sauce, slice of pumpkin pie. No. They were in a hospital bed, and they were talking to doctors about whether or not they should take her off life support. Because an Afghan migrant walked up to her, pulled out a gun, and shot her in the head the day before Thanksgiving, and her blood spilled out across the steps of the White House. You do something like that, and there will be a response. Mark my words. You do something like that in the context and in the midst of all of the things that have been done to the American people at the hands of these migrants, we're done. We're absolutely done. And that's why I appreciate and support what the president is saying. I don't care how you got here. I don't care what piece of paper you have. You are not welcome. It's done. It's absolutely done. All right? Goodbye. You were given a free pass. You were given a free pass to the United States of America. Free ticket, a free flight even. Given all of it. And all you had to do was sit down and go to work and assimilate. Could you try not shooting our service members? Could you try not raping our women? Could you try not killing our children? But you couldn't. You just couldn't do it. There's been too much blood. There's been too much trauma. There's been too much rape. Too many children killed. It's done. And then you attack our soldiers. Literally, our men and women in uniform, steps away from the White House and spill their blood, and you think there's not going to be a response? What kind of serious country would put up with something like this? What do you think would happen What do you think would happen if a bunch of Afghans tried this or did this in Moscow? How about Beijing? How do you think that would go? Interesting. Kind of interesting. You know, I was looking at some pictures of the Polish Christmas markets. They're up in Krakow. They're up in Wrocław, different parts of the country. And you know what's interesting is I don't see stories like this coming out of Poland. The stories of migrants raping their citizens every day. The stories of terrorists driving them through the Christmas crowds. No, you don't hear it. Where do you hear that? You hear that in Western Europe. You certainly do. Every single day, there's another story. And this is why it's been almost 10 years. It's been almost 10 years from the start of this movement. And you go back, how did this all begin? Angela Merkel. All right, Angela Merkel and her mass migration plan. So she waited until the false song of multiculturalism had been spread throughout the EU and throughout America. And she waited and she bided her time. And then eventually she said, what we're going to do in the wake of the Arab Spring, the regime change that was launched by Western powers across the Middle East, series of regime changes, Libya, Syria, Egypt, and say, you know, we're going to let all the refugees in. We're going to let them all in. Then eventually it happens with Afghanistan too. Iraq gets smashed. Where are they going to go? Well, they better come back to America. Got to come on back to America. And then when they get sent back in, is anyone watching them? Is anyone keeping track? Is anyone seeing what's going on? No. You can't keep track of them. You have no idea who you let into the country. You have no clue. And our great vice president said it himself to Margaret Brennan. What did he say? Because she said there was another terrorist attack that happened earlier, earlier in the year, and it was another migrant. And she's saying, well, JD, actually, that person was radicalized after he came to the United States, not before he came. And he just cuts her off. He said, you know something? I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country. That's the energy we need right now. That's the energy the patriots need right now. Do you think that the boys of Valley Forge suffered that winter so that you could turn over this country and their heritage to mass migration? Do you think if you go look, and I took this picture of, kind of a forest, a fall field landscape of Valley Forge and the cabins, many of which are still standing from that time. Some they've been refurbished. And imagine the corrupted mind that you have to look at a scene like this and say, what would really make this so much better is 100,000 Somalians living in low rent housing. That's what would really make this better. That's what will really make our country better. 100,000 Somalians living in Valley Forge. And let's just tear down all of our national parks and put up low-rent housing, low-rent high-rises, put up the projects and fill them full of illegal aliens and Somalians and Muslims and whatever else you can find and just shove them all in there. And I don't really... To an extent, right? There are theories. To an extent, I have no idea why this is the globalist project. I mean, obviously, there's moneyed interests. Obviously, they want to break up our ethnic and religious makeup in this country. They want the United States to fall apart. But ultimately, this is what they're doing. And this is what we have to fight against. So when I brought my boys to Valley Forge this weekend, and I brought them to that National Memorial Arch. And I love that Trump is building an arch in Washington, D.C. as well. And I said, remember the patriots of Valley Forge, the first veterans of our nation. Remember what they fought for. Remember what they sacrificed for. And then it's time for you to do your part as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.